We made 2 trades today. Judging by Tim's comment on my appearance, we worked very hard on a lot of deals over the last 5 or 6 days. We're very happy with our results, and I'd say it's difficult. I think being a seller is a position that, frankly, I'm unfamiliar with, but also not one I enjoy or want to be in very often. The goal is to win games, and unfortunately this year we're not doing enough of that. So we're in a position of being a seller. I hope that some of the parts we brought back today are a part of what makes us a consistent winner. We have to build our talent base up as an organization. It's not right now where it needs to be. I think that we're on the right path to getting it there. But like I said, I think that the deals we made today hopefully help build up that talent base to where it needs to be. Obviously, trading Mike and trading Ryan is difficult. That's the nature of being a seller. Like I said, it's not a position we want to be in. Both decisions were difficult. Mike, most of all, given the control we have for next year. But we feel very good about what we got back. We targeted a handful of players this deadline very hard, and in the case of the Texas deal in particular, we got 2 players that were very high on that list. So we discussed trading both. If we had been if we'd been overwhelmed, I think we might have done that. In the end, I think with like I said before, we targeted the players that we really wanted to acquire. And in the case of the 2 Texas pitchers, both these guys that we scouted incredibly heavily this year, it was pretty obvious for a long time that Texas was going to be a fit for us. We scouted them incredibly heavily, and these are 2 pitchers we feel like they're polished. We think they fit this ballpark fantastically, and we're very excited to get them. So Mike was the piece that they wanted in order to part with those 2 players when we made that decision. We did have some scenarios where we traded both. I think with Heath, we have had discussions with him on staying. By keeping him, that allows for that possibility. And we also have draft pick protection with Heath if we can ever reach a deal. So all those things kind of factor into our calculus. A number of factors allowed us to maintain a very high price for Heath. We do have draft pick protection with him by virtue of him being a free agent and A compensation. He is a player that we have interest in retaining, and for all those reasons, we kept the high price with him, and no one met it, and we're excited he's still in our bullpen right now.
Did anyone make a run at him, Jed, at Heath in that small window from the time the Mike Adams deal was complete to the deadline? Anything enticing it there at all?
No. I said a number of times over the last couple of weeks that I think it would have been irresponsible for us not to get more young talent. We don't have enough young talent in the system. We are working on acquiring more to get to that point. But when you look at organizations that can succeed, that aren't huge payroll teams, they have significant young talent, and they're able to do it. And if we have to use the seasons when we're not competitive to gain that kind of talent, then we're going to do that, and I think it's the right move. We're not going to playoffs this year. I don't think that that's a secret. And to not trade players to worry about the next 60 games, I don't think that's a responsible way to run a baseball team. I think that the goal here is to win a championship and to create a championship organization, not to make sure that the next 60 games are marginally better. I know that's difficult, and I take full responsibility for the fact that this team's not competing this year. But I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't acquire young talent for the future. John Daniels and I have been talking for several weeks. I made it clear that the players that we wanted. He always had a preference to acquire Mike because of the extra year of control. And we did have a number of conversations with Heath. They also had interest in him. in the end, the fit was, we got the two young starting pitchers that we wanted, and he ended up with the reliever he wanted because he actually had control. So we did, I wouldn't say parallel tracks. It was, that was the fit in the end. But we had, a lot of phone calls back and forth, a lot of dialogue, and this is where we ended up. So I think, yes, I think there's a possibility that we can retain him. I think it'd be unfair to call it a probability. I think it's certainly something that, both sides will have discussions on. As far as justification, I think that, that's an interesting question, as we decide how to allocate dollars on our payroll. I do think that, the bullpen is very important here. We play more close games than the other team by virtue of the ballpark, which not only makes for, a lot of safe situations, also taxes the bullpen. So I don't think you can ever lose sight of the bullpen here. I think that's an important thing. Kevin preached that for years. He's right. I think that we always have to, make sure that we have a good bullpen. The 60 innings part is a little bit unfair. You can make an argument. Theoretically, what Mike Adams and Heath Bell are pitching, those are, the high leverage innings for a team, and in some ways, are those 60s worth 120, 130? Based on how high leverage those innings are. So it's a valid question and something that's open for debate. And obviously, there's a percentage beyond which we can't go past for any position, let alone someone that's not a top rotation starter or a position player. What that percentage is obviously internal, but I think that it's something we'll work towards. But yeah, I think there's obviously a limit to what we can do based on our resources.
When you look at the minor league system right now, where do you think it is in terms of the balance between having pitching prospects that you like and think are on their way to Petco Park and position player prospects that you like?
I actually think the deal today, I think, sort of helps to balance that out a little bit. Not that we have we have enough hitting prospects. We felt like we're getting to the point we have pretty good bats in the minor league system, and that's been a priority. And our pitching has not been quite as strong as our hitting this year. And I think getting Erlin and Whelan, I think it goes a long way towards addressing it.
And along those same lines, how do you balance that with the nature of the market, the fact that given Petco Park, that you can bring in the Harangs and the like, John Garland's, get that kind of market efficiency? Does that in any way affect when you're looking out there on the prospect farm, like you might want to overload on bats because you can get arms?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the hard thing with that, certainly we can prioritize a number of bats in the minor leagues. As we went through the trade deadline, it was some of those guys were pretty hard to acquire, and some of the fits with the different teams didn't allow for that. So theoretically, I think that's right. I think that given the ballpark, we're more likely to attract pitchers here than we are position players, and we need to focus on bats. At the same time, I think having young, controllable starting pitching is something that every team in baseball covets. And I think when you look at it now, I think we have a chance. When you start listing off guys, we have a pretty good number of them, and if that gives us cost certainty to acquire other bats, that's great. I've never heard anyone say they have, guys, we have too much young starting pitching. And I think that if we get to that point, we're in good shape.